talking about Solana and the congestion that's been happening. We'll break this down today, and we're going to do it with a game founder that will get into the real world of what's happening within the Solana ecosystem. This is important. It's a good one to watch, I think, if you are investing in Solana, or maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you're building on Solana. All of this, I think, will pertain to you guys, so make sure and stick around. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. All right, let's go first up, and I want to talk about this right here. Coinbase says some users may be experiencing a little bit of delayed sends and receives. Guess what? For Solana, you probably have seen this in your Phantom app, congestion. This is now happening, of course, within Coinbase as well. So, you know, and it's not an issue of funds. It's just purely a network congestion issue. So I think most people are considering that. This is a good example of active wallets that have continued to climb. I'll zoom in on this a little bit right here, but continuing to climb right here on Solana, dipping a little bit, but for the most part, definitely a big impact in terms of where this congestion is coming from. Some of this has been around the meme tokens. Some of this has been around game transactions. We had, Michael Wagner with Star Atlas last week, talking a little bit about that. I'll show you a clip on this as well to kind of explain what this might mean. Another thing is, if you look at the failed transactions, this is Solana failed non-vote transaction rate share. Look at this. That red part is the failed part. The green part is the go. So it's a problem, and it's a big problem. And I think this is one of those things that happens with new tech. I get it. But when you have a lot of projects that are building on this, this is not something that I think many people want to go with. And of course, if you look at the average ping time right now on response time, I mean, you can kind of see this. This thing is definitely not getting 85%, 88% loss right there. 7 of 61 confirmed, 13 minutes. This was just a little bit ago. So that's a problem. And then I've got a tweet here from Tolly. And if you look at this, dealing with congestion, bugs suck so much more than total liveness failure. The latter is one and done. Bug is identified and patched, and the chain continues. The former has to go through the full release and test pipeline. So that's the one he's in right now. As they say, some people, we call it production hell in the media business, but this is shipping hell for Solana right now. I want to get in Corey Wright, who is the CEO of Honeyland, to kind of jump in and talk a little bit more about this. Hey, Corey, how's it going?
I'm doing great, man. How are you, Paul?
Excellent. I know you have a lot of news. I know you just came off a live stream. Big deals happening over at Honeyland. Of course, we're a big fan of the game itself. In looking at the Honey Tracker, I was looking at active wallets. I know this is probably not dead on accurate, but what does it look like right now in terms of users for you guys? How are you guys going?
Yeah, in terms of like players, so remember, we have like a lot of this on-chain, off-chain relationship. So most of the players in the game don't necessarily need to touch the blockchain when they're playing. So we try and keep the blockchain in the background is what we call it. And so that's more people who are holding HXD. So that's a little bit more of kind of like the token side. From a player side, we've actually over the last 30 days gone from about 8,000 to just yesterday about 18,000 daily active. So we're starting to see a lot more players coming in. That's due to some updates and kind of this new onboarding experience that we've been working really, really hard on. But yeah, it's because we have the chain in the background, we're able to, some of these challenges that Solana is facing more globally aren't hitting us specifically with our players in terms of the day-to-day.
Right. Yeah. Well, that, obviously, because of your unique situation to where you have, off-chain transactions that kind of, which is a good, hey, listen, I think a lot of founders have started to look at what you guys are doing and considering that strategy, because it does make sense, especially if you run into these high congestion periods like what we're dealing with on Solana right now. You guys, of course, got listed on some centralized exchanges. I was just looking at a tweet here: Gate.io, MEXC, Bitmart, Cube, Coinstar, a couple few others. Anything else coming that you can talk about? Anything coming new?
Tons of things. We just announced a whole bunch of new stuff. But in terms of like centralized exchange, no, these are, we've got the 4 that are live today, and then 2 more that will be live in the next 24 hours.
Well, this is good, because I think a lot of people who have been looking to get HXD, this has been one of the things, because otherwise, you're obviously doing that inside Solana, wallet if you're going that route. I want to go over to a clip, actually. I want to play this clip from Michael Wagner, I think it is, on Star Atlas. Let's cut to that.
guess what game we're going to be playing today? The new star-based Sage expansion times $200. $2 for God's sake. That's $2. That's a lot. That is a lot. And you're going to be doing that multiple times. So you got to make sure you have enough Solana in your account to do this. God, so many transactions. Why? Oh, because it's not propagating. It's not going out properly. It's not actually transfer. Maybe this is what's going to be the problem, guys. Do it like 5 times. Like, I can't even get in to play. It's still updated. All this time, all these transactions I've been sending haven't even gone through.
Do you think these kind of situations right now with what's happening with Solana, is this going to maybe impact us greater than what we can imagine, or is this just a small bump in the road?
Can it be at the same time? So I definitely think that this is something that it is big. There's certainly a lot of players who are, if Solana is relatively new to them, which we've seen a lot of people new to Solana through meme coins and whatnot, and now you can't even get like a swap done. Forget about gamers, right, but you can't even get a swap done. Like, yeah, I think it creates a lot of reason to go, now I know why I wasn't on Solana. On the other side of this, Web3 moves so fast that like we forget about all the things that happen. I mean, Solana used to have outages regularly, right? And that's now just kind of a thing of the past, and certainly didn't hurt, too long term. And so I think sometimes being relatively early works to an advantage, because you can kind of get through some of these bumps before it's like mainstream adoption. But yeah, I think that it's got to get solved. I know that they're working on it, in talking with Solana Foundation and, seeing some of the tweets and communication coming out. I know that they understand the significance of this problem for builders and community, and are working on it. Just want to make sure they do it in the right way.
What do you think about how devs like you, builders that are out there saying, hey, I'm getting ready to maybe look at jumping off of something else? Maybe I'm over in another ecosystem. I won't mention some, but they're saying, hey, we want to build on something that is maybe going a different direction. And you look at what's happening on Avalanche and subnets, not necessarily seeming to have a problem right here in terms of transactions, definitely cruising right along. What are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like that could impact maybe some decisions for founders and builders?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the chain that you build on matters, but it's not just about getting transactions through. Solana will get this figured out, right? I think it's a small bump. I think the bigger thing is looking at more the supporting infrastructure around the blockchain. We need wallets and exchanges and on-ramps, and there's so many other things that if you feel like those chains off, like that's what I would really be looking at, because I think performance is going to get security performance, those will get worked out. But yeah, there's certainly some good options out there. I don't think Solana is the only one. And despite these frustrations, I'm still very, bullish on Solana long term, but certainly happy to get through these.
I want to play a clip of the Beam SDK. They're minting. It was basically their user experience, a demo, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. Let me go to this clip real quick.
We are now in the capital city of Narmoons, called Arcadia, where we'll approach a merchant to upgrade our item to an ethereal. So after reading through what the ascension means, we'll confirm it and see our item get crafted live. It'll receive unique new properties. We can go ahead and list them on the Sphere Marketplace. So we'll grab one of our ethereals and we'll drag it into the merchant window and put a asking price. So here let's go with 2 Beam tokens and list. When you've done that, you can click on this See an Armory button again, and you'll be taken to the Armory website, where you can click on the button to open it in Sphere. You'll be taken to the Sphere Marketplace, where you can view your item and its asking price.
What were your thoughts about how Beam was going about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fully integrated experience is the most important thing. Obviously, we're building on mobile, so the UX is going to be very different than the UX here. But yeah, you see Star Atlas doing this, you've seen us do it, you see Beam doing it. Like, I think if the promise of Web3 is tokenized assets, and the benefit of tokenized assets is the ability to move those, transact with those, trade, buy, sell, then making that process easy is going to be incredibly important.
Kudos to you guys, because I think you are one of the projects that seems to be thinking through that a little bit better than some, because I feel like there's a lot of, there's a lot of speed bumps out there in some of the projects that I've been watching, for sure. Let's talk about onboarding. I'm looking at your current on-ramp model right here. This is adding HXD. here's my question. Now, is this done on MoonPay? What's the model you guys are using for on-ramping right now?
Stripe.
Stripe. Oh, okay. So directly off Stripe, just converting it in, and then okay, all right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Paul, really quickly. So how it's going to work is player will basically connect either their wallet or their Google account into this site so that we can recognize what player it is, and then they'll choose the amount that they want to purchase. We'll run a credit card transaction. We credit their in-game account. So it's an off-chain credit that they get. And then we actually go ping the DEX. We'll go purchase that amount. We'll move it into a player deposits wallet that we actually custody. So the player's never custodying cryptocurrency. They're actually just buying in-game credits, but it's matched one-to-one with cryptocurrency that they can withdraw at any time.
Yeah, which is it's kind of the workaround of what we're dealing with, especially on mobile, right now because of the Apple ecosystem, all that good stuff. Let's talk about marketing, because this is another area that I think is going to really explode in terms of adoption. Monopoly Go, of course, spent almost $500 million on marketing, but they ended up getting like a $2 billion back. So that's a pretty good move. Granted, that's scale. If you pull that down to, let's say now it's a $10 million project, a $10 million or maybe a $1 million marketing and project, and how much would you commit to marketing now, especially for a Web3 game? What's some of the strategies you guys are looking at doing?
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with paid user acquisition, the numbers just have to back into what's it cost to get not just an install, but an actual registered player. What's your retention for those players? And then what's the lifetime value of those players? And you just need to make sure that you are getting more back from the value of those players than you're spending to acquire those players. And then at that point, it becomes scale until that starts to break. And so, we're still playing with some of those numbers, but we've certainly started to ramp up what our user acquisition budgets are. I think where Web3 games become different is that there's entirely new ways to reach audience. Things like an airdrop is essentially a marketing budget, right? When you're going after an airdrop, 100%. You're essentially paying people to say, come play my game, and I think we can trick you into sticking around, even though you may have come just for the airdrop. There's so many different KOLs and influencers and marketers. There's reasons that people are coming into the game that aren't necessarily even to play the game. It's to own the token or for speculation, to acquire assets. And so really starting to lean into what are the different ways that players can play the game outside of just pushing buttons, right? Because there's a lot more ways to play, and then really leveraging everything that Web3 has for marketing.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way in the sense that you've got maybe a new set of gamers that are going to start moving in this direction, and maybe even outside the traditional Web2 gaming ecosystem. You could be gaining users that are more crypto savvy and more crypto, curious, that really kind of plays into it. I was looking, and the reason I say that is because you look at what Mavi has done. This, of course, is Times Square, and I was just looking at. I mean, there you go. This is in the middle of Times Square. That to me is mainstreaming it. I think if people understand what's happening, if anything, they just look at it. Hey, this is another great game. It's another alternative for it. So very unique going out there. So kind of an interesting thing for Times Square to have a Web3 game out there. Here, of course, this is Kyle jumping in on this. This is talking about WAGMI moving over to Base. This was a big move out there. And, this is one we've talked about the WAGMI team before. Actually, we had them on and kind of were challenging them a little bit on potentially the selection. Do you think we're going to see more projects starting to go with alternate chains out there in terms of dev?
Yeah, I think we're still trying to figure it out. The WAGMI team is great, by the way. I love what they're building in their project. I've got a high level of respect for everything they're doing. I think that the base is, you're going to have to see, at the end of the day, Ronin Chain made it huge because Axie was a runaway success, right? I think Avalanche right now is really leaning heavily on the promise of Shrapnel, right? And so I think a lot of these chains are leaning on like a single title and hoping to get more players into the space. And if Base can have a couple runaways, I think Solana needs a couple runaways. You certainly look at Star Atlas and us and Mixed Mob, and there's some other certainly games, Photo Finish. There's some games that in Solana that are gaining quite a bit of attention. I think that's what's going to cause builders to move onto the chains. It's not even necessarily the promise or the tooling of the chains, but it's the success of the other projects in the ecosystem, because then it starts to become a gaming focused or a chain that has gamers on it, that it becomes easy to grow.
For you guys, it pretty much locks you into Solana, or would you ever consider, something like that, like what WAGMI did?
We're really happy with Solana. I mean, despite the recent challenges, I'm a Solana maxi in terms of where we are. I don't ever want to pinhole myself into, what the future has, because, I think we learn new things every day. And I think that we need to take those learnings and make new decisions. But there's nothing right now that's motivating me to move anywhere other than Solana for right now.
Yeah, I'm showing the Solana Mobile. These are the DApp rewards out there because you could get a month of, mobile. I still think this was, in my opinion, was the savior of Solana Mobile. And of course, you guys were part of it. You got 50 HXD when you bought the Genesis phone, the original. And moving on into that, you look at where we are on Chapter 2. I think it's about time we jump into Chapter 2 because I'm a Chapter 2 holder. So let's do something there. Not bad though.
The Saga, gotcha.
Yeah, on the Saga side. Yeah. So
these are the rewards for the Chapter 2s now? Yeah, I saw that we got some CWIF and some Mew. Cool.
Yeah, this is the Chapter 2 rewards. Right here was the original when we saw the first version of the phone jump out. So, and it goes back to your point. Airdrops it's the natural evolution of marketing because it is, in a way, it's not like you're throwing somebody a coupon. You're really giving them value, and they don't necessarily have to come spend it with you, which is the biggest, to me, the biggest killer app that airdrops bring in. So, talking about airdrops, I know you guys have one coming. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we just announced this today. We wanted to do this in a really thoughtful way. The goal is we don't just want to hand out a bunch of HXD. We really want to incentivize people to come try our game and play it. Join the 18,000 that are playing already today. See what they're loving about it. And if you accidentally fall in love with the game, then keep playing and have a lot of fun. And if not, we'll reward you with some sort of an airdrop at the end. And so, we built HXD airdrop.honey.land, I think is the website, or you can just go to honey.land, but get all the information. You can start playing today. You can start referring people today to kind of bank up leaderboard points, but ultimately the event will take place between May 10th and May 31st. That's when you'll need to make sure that you have an account. We'll have daily and or season milestones that are tasked that will accumulate points and stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. And, we really expect Honeyland to grow quite a bit through this.
Yeah, one more big announcement, I think, was what you guys did in getting Honeyland over onto Devour. Full disclosure, we're an advisor with the Devour team, so we're always trying to push our friends in the ecosystem to get out there, and you guys, of course, partnered up, and you're right there on the top, man. You're right there next to the Genesis token. Nice spot, and in between Claynosaurs. I mean, come on, Mad Lads is even taking second billing here. What's up with that?
We love it. I got a chance to connect with the team after you guys had them on and had Shelly on and got a chance to connect with her. Yep. And what they're building is really, really cool. And for us to be able to collaborate with them and, get our collections organized and stuff is awesome. The vision that they have to really socialize all this, not just food delivery, but yeah, it's really big. It's really cool. I'm rooting for them in significant ways because I think it would be it's something that's really fun to just be a part of, but also can be big for, the ecosystem in general.
What do you think about, I'm looking at your Candy Blast, and some of the word puzzle, you look at Candy Blast on out there within the ecosystem, and that's a good example that you could drop in on a play to earn here within the Devour ecosystem with like what you have done right here with word puzzle. What about something like that?
Yeah, so I think Honeyland will be our only ever play to earn game. I think a single token emission vehicle is really smart. And then the goal is that everything else is an own to play game. And so that the assets that you can own through playing Honeyland, you can either buy those from other players or you can find a way to play. You can own them through either buying those from other players or actually playing. And then owning those will allow you to unlock other experiences. So for instance, this Pollen Pop here, it's a game that'll go live later this month. It's a match 3 game with some unique and fun mechanics and boosters and stuff, but we'll have the ability to do PvP where you can actually have real stakes gaming. Paul, you and I can risk real HXD against each other in a 1v1 match. We'll have multiplayer tournaments coming up. I think real stakes gaming is one of the things that is unique to Web3 gaming that should start to be much more popular than it is today, because I think people really love that style of gaming. And so we're trying to leverage that. These are just much more accessible games, kind of more active games instead of like idle games like Honeyland is. And these are the first kind of iterations of what will be a much larger gaming ecosystem for Honeyland.
Yeah. I see that strategy right there starting to really make its way, I think, into mainstream, because we're going to see more and more players that are willing to kind of level up on that. Granted, you still have a lot of players that, hey, they're there for the fun, but listen, look at the success of esports. In essence, that's what you've got right now is head-to-head matches that are, hey, they're for money. And these are definitely potentials around 1v1 for sure. You look at what's happening within the app. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I look at something like DraftKings as well, right? And
good example, yeah.
they've done a really good job of saying, let's get people in, let's have them enter or compete against something that they love, and let's do it in 1v4 or multiplayer tournaments, and let's have like kind of jackpot prizes. And I think that that has really proven the concept, and now we can take this to a lot more. I think crypto uniquely enables us to do this in new ways.
No doubt, man. This is going to be, I think this revolutionizes gaming. But you and I know this. I think everybody out there that's watching our show right now probably has got an understanding of where this is going for sure. But we do have one little bit of an impediment, and that, of course, is Mr. Tim Cook. Apple sues, now U.S. sues Apple for shape-shifting its rules now, throttling crypto apps and others. I mean, we all know the facade that Apple puts out there around how to control the app ecosystem. They even went as far, I was noticing that they ended up canceling Jon Stewart's show because he said something he didn't, I guess they didn't like. I've got a clip. I want to play this clip for everybody, just kind of seeing the challenge that is going up against Apple. Take a look.
I got to tell you, I wanted to have you on a podcast, and Apple asked us not to do it, to have you. They literally said, please don't talk to her, having nothing to do with what you do for a living. I think they just... I didn't think they cared for you, is what happened. They wouldn't let us do even that dumb thing we just did in the first act on AI. Why are they so afraid to even have these conversations out in the public sphere?
So this gets into the problem that I think in general we see in these closed ecosystems, which I think eventually Web3 will solve. But now it's kind of funny that even guys like Jon Stewart are starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, this is affecting much more than, gaming, personal selection, the ability to do what you want with your own device. And now, oh, well, wait a minute, we actually want to keep you from actually using your speech as well. So that's do you think we're ever going to see a change over there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see Lina Khan and FTC they're going to bat for us, and they're saying, listen, you've got to do things that particularly here, in America, is that that's for the benefit of the American population, not just for the benefit of a corporation. And so it's good to see that. I think that FTC is going to push pretty hard. And I think in a lot of these situations, they're right and need to give consumers a fair choice. And so
we'll see. We'll see. Let's get into roadmap a little bit. I wanted to show you a slide that I think we may have actually showed this to you before. And these were ideas. Yeah, the ideas we like slide. And of course, Honeyland Party, social games, raffles to the Battle Royale, and then the AR, VR. The third-party app integrations, at least we got the Devour thing in there. Anything else that you can share with us around potentials of the roadmap coming out?
Yeah, so we're big on integrations. I think is a really cool thing that we want to do recently. We've got subdomain integration with Bonefide, so people can go get their own Corey.hxd.sol domain, which makes it really easy for Web 2 players coming in. It looks more like an email address than some sort of a crazy bank account, right? To send people stuff to your wallet. We've also got with Civic, we're working on an integration with them to prove a unique individual human being behind a gaming account, which allows us to incentivize them in different ways when we know there's not multi accounts. We're doing a collaboration with STEPN, where we're going to, for the very first time, sell shoe traits inside of our game. So our bees will be flying around with shoes. And then we're going to be doing stuff with them as well, where we'll have some Honeyland designed shoes that'll be available for the STEPN community. We've got some officially licensed NASA stuff that we're going to be doing. We have the integration with Sabona. So, one of the things that we saw a while ago was I talked about this idea of integrated brand experiences. Solana Mobile, so original Saga holders will be getting some cool traits that they can put on their bees. All of these traits, by the way, come with utility upgrades in the game. So when you put them on your bee, they bring utility upgrades as well. So it's a cool way to not only combine cosmetics, but utility. But yeah, our goal was to be able to enhance the player's experience by bringing other projects or collaborations or brands into the game. And I think we've done it in a really, really fun way that players are looking to go get the Solana, the Saga apparel. They're looking to go get the Step-In shoes. They're looking for Sabona to play a game day so they can go get the free Sabona spin. They want these NASA traits. And so I think we've done a really good job of this. I think it's a small validation of a much bigger vision, in the same way that kind of multi-gaming ecosystem where you've got PvP and real stakes gaming is starting to be proven out as well. And so it's cool to see some validation of some thesis that we had, and the execution of them coming to life. And then, this is the last one, HXD staking, both on-chain will go live in just a couple days, probably a week or so from now. We're in the final testing of it. And then in-game staking as well. For people who are playing more actively, staking in-game is going to give you probably better rewards. For people who just want to, believe in the project and hold HXD, don't plan on selling it anytime soon, go stake it in our on-chain staking pool. You'll get some rewards on the back end that all come from in-game revenues too. So we're not emitting new tokens to issue rewards. We're doing it in a sustainable manner, coming from treasuries that are tokens that are already in circulation, earned by the treasury through in-game rewards.
I think a lot of game devs really need to follow a lot of what you guys have done from a strategy standpoint, because it's been pretty effective. So one definitely that I think a lot of companies and project leads would start to look at, even from a Web 2 standpoint, that game studios that have started to take a look at maybe dabbling in Web 3. This is a good, it's a really good format going forward. I want to jump over to our last clip and get your opinion, because this is the CEO of Roblox. And this kind of talks to the future of where all this is going. Listen in.
And at Roblox, I think we feel there's one more step here, and that is the step where we can recreate not just a video screen, but a 3D situation that can work on any device, phone, tablet, computer, VR, headset. That seems like a lot. Some of us have seen Star Trek in the holodeck. Some of us imagine this working on a phone. Sometimes this will work in the holodeck. Our avatars, we're very constrained almost in a certain look and feel, that classic Roblox avatar. Right, so we had this idea, even when we met, that we're going to migrate our avatar system to one that supports any style.
That's right.
We are right in the middle of that right now, right?
But then they all have to be interoperable.
Any piece of clothing, any accessory works on any avatar.
All right, so I mean that's a pretty aggressive move there for Roblox. Obviously, that could see interoperability with other projects out there, much like what you guys are doing. You could see things within the Solana ecosystem. We're showing some Clenosaurs here, but I mean the vision of what David's talking about and kind of the future, the fact that we see that happening with a Roblox right now. How close do you think it is before we actually see one of the major platforms pull the trigger on digital assets in game?
I mean, they certainly all have their heads set on it, right? I think some of the stuff that they talked about is kind of this more 3D, like virtual experience. Right. I think that's more bound by technology than anything else. I've played with the Apple Vision Pro a little bit. I've actually played Honeyland on the Apple Vision Pro. It wasn't a better experience. It was cool to be doing it, but the experience is better on mobile device. It was made for that. And so I think, when you start to find games that are natively made for a 3D experience, that are natively made for the idea of asset tokenization and ownership, it makes a ton of sense. If you just work backwards from, we're a platform and this is a cool trend and let's try and wedge these together, I think that's where people get in trouble. I have full belief in Roblox that whatever they're going to build is going to be very intentional and put together in a cool way. So I'm excited to see what they put together. But yeah, you've started to see, I think, a lot of most of these major studios and publishers are looking for ways to leverage and take advantage of Web3 without turning off their existing Web2 audience.
Right. That's a tough one too, because you are talking about a dynamic shift right now that's happening in technology. This has happened in other, industries. We've seen it in a variety of different industries that have made that transition process. It's kind of like, letting go of one market before you start to engage with the other. But I think because of the demographic shift that we've seen so much of, we're almost getting to that stage where this next generation demo, in my opinion, is built for Web3. If you look at just how people are looking at, in-game assets as a whole, even I have very young children, and they're starting to ask those very same questions. I would like to own that. I want that. I want to trade it with somebody. And what's the value of that? Can I trade it for, extra, stuff this weekend, Dad, with you? Because I know you're playing the game as well.
It creates a new way to game too, right? When you actually own something and that is your avatar that you're going to carry with you through games and interoperably, like you're more likely to upgrade that and to care about that and to take care of that. And that becomes almost as much a part of the game as it does, actually playing the game. And I think that was a bit of our thesis with Honeyland, is that you have these bees, and particularly with the cosmetics and the utility upgrades and the marketplace, that you can kind of go find these bees and you build this colony that feels like it's uniquely yours. And it's certainly a part of, the players who get into the game and participate in the Web3 parts. It's certainly something that it's as much a part of the game as actually sending your bees out on missions and, playing the buttons that are actually playing the game.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've been on here with Mr. Corey Wright of Honeyland. If you guys haven't checked out the game, make sure and go do that. That's the first thing. Go download it off the iOS store. It's not an ad. Corey doesn't come on here and pay us to say anything. We just love to have him and kind of pick his brain on what's happening. But Corey, thanks so much for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate you always.
Always. All right, you guys, if you're not, and what we're talking about here is really getting into kind of this next evolution of digital assets. And I think, obviously, you've heard me say this before, is that Web3 gaming most likely will be one of the breakout sectors that kind of somewhat transcends the crypto market. And I think that's the real question, is as this technology really starts to take loose, what is it going to do in terms of some of these projects? And we're talking about Solana, of course, as one of the core baselines, but we also see other things within the Ethereum ecosystem, within Avalanche, Base. All of those are really starting to break loose. So we'll continue that coverage for you guys here on the show. If you're not subscribed, make sure and do that now and get in on the Diamond Circle. It's a great place to get your own kind of custom community right here on PBN. And of course, catch me out there on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechBath.